Hey guys, what's going on? It's Blake Ruffino from Are You Serious Sports, and this AYS short is brought to you by BetOnline.ag. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to bet on all your sporting action. BetOnline has you covered for all the news, scores, odds, and updates. It's literally the best way for you to place all your bets, and the best thing is it's free to sign up. Head on over to the website. Again, that's betonline.ag. Use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus for your first deposit. Again, that's betonline.ag. Betonline.ag.
Who, Mike Jones? We are live. Welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? LSU had Skip Bergman and the Intimidator, and Louisiana and LSU as a program had swag, which then ultimately winning championships gets them to go after a guy by the name of Nick Saban, make him the highest paid coach in the country. Then when you make that guy the highest paid coach in the country, you bring in really good recruits. One of those best recruits just won a Super Bowl starting at left tackle for the Los Angeles Rams. And the interesting part of this to me is that since Brian Kelly has told the team and the staff to start getting that intensity back, at least for me, the one thing that it hits me in a specific spot is well, where did it go? You know, you won a national title in 2019. Where did that swag go? Where did that intensity go? The more and more I hear from people inside of LSU, the more and more and more I start to like the
We got him one-on-one. If you would have told me, hey, that is a Power 5 football coach, I'd have called you a liar. I said, that's the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He's not a football coach, because the way he processed information and the way that he articulated it to us was probably one of the most impressive things that I've seen. And look, this is my fifth market that I've been in. I've covered Roy Williams at North Carolina basketball, Mike Krzyzewski at Duke. I have covered Jimbo. I have covered Nick Saban. Dealings with him. You know, you go down the line. I've been around some pretty good coaches. He's number one, and
wow.
It's just because, it's tough. It's tough to say, like, there's no greater mind than Saban. There's no greater mind than, and that's probably true. That is yet to be seen, because Brian Kelly has yet to play one game with LSU, but. It was a very healthy mix of that Northeastern arrogance, but that Notre Dame intelligence, that Notre Dame aura, that Catholic school upbringing that was like, yeah, I'm really smart, and I'm smarter than you.
But it was about it though. But he wasn't.
Yeah, but
right.
he was. It's kind of like you almost felt like he was patronizing you because he's so smart, and you're trying. It's that meme where the woman's like looking into the camera and all of these like graphs are going around and these like formulas. That's like pretty much what we were all thinking.
To the point. And Will Wade got teed up for disputing a call. You could read his lips. Doesn't curse the guy. He says, "Oh, frick." He doesn't say frick, but he says, "Oh, F." I mean, come on, man. And he's telling that to the ref. And they tee him up. I hear a lot about myself and this generation and how we're soft, but these referees, they're softer than tissue paper. Tissue paper is harder, but harder than some of these SEC referees. Why are you teeing up Will Wade for disagreeing with you on a call? I don't understand it. You have a problem in the SEC with referees and umpires, and yes, there is technically an umpire for football. Look it up. I'm not just making that up. And even, maybe you could even say, speaking of umpires, but we'll probably see some this Friday. that make some bad calls. I know it's very difficult to do what these guys do. Like I get it. But it's not, I mean, you're the human being that has to keep your emotions in check. It's what you're paid to do. You're not paid to make a call that's in almost every sport, you can overturn or make a foul right to some extent. Right? Like you can somewhat do it in basketball. You can pretty much do it in all of baseball. Now, you can't do it on balls and strikes and judgment calls, and I understand that. But you can, though, if a runner's going to first, and I forget your boy for the White Sox who was throwing a perfect game, and it gets blown for them there at the end, and there's no instant replay. They change it. Instant replay has been good for baseball. But, man, Logan Wilson, that play there at the end, and the refs started throwing flags all over the place at the end of that Super Bowl, the NFL's got to do something. I don't really know what the solution is. I don't know if overturning the call or what it is. Maybe you use a overturned call like that in maybe just an only playoff scenario to make sure that the regular season speeds up. I don't know what you do. But the Logan Wilson play there at the end on 3rd and goal from the 12-yard line is not pass interference. And before I even want to talk about the T. Higgins face mask grab, Jalen Ramsey's in the end zone against T. Higgins, and they show multiple replays of T. Higgins being held by Jalen Ramsey. So you don't call the one on Jalen Ramsey. You don't call the one on T. Higgins. You don't call it all game long, but God effing forbid you call it there at the end. Referees and umpires across the country, I know it is very difficult for your job, but for crying out loud, you make way too much money in a critical situation to be an asshat and make that terrible of calls. We'll get to some baseball and some more football news, football talk. Get baseball and football in there. Just kind of ended this, though, on Will Wade. I don't think and I want to say this very I don't think that there's anybody out there calling for Will Wade to be fired. I'm not out here calling Will Wade to be fired. I'm not saying that he's a bad coach. I'm not saying that I think that he hasn't done a lot for LSU basketball. Like, I am not saying that. But for the love of God, when you got to be able to critique things, you have to be able to critique things even in a win. And for at least for me, Ed Orgeron had a lot of things. Paul Maneri had a lot of things. Les Miles had a lot of things. They also won a lot. The problem for me is, and we can talk about expectations. We can talk about all those different things. The only thing for me is we put so much on other coaches besides Will Wade, and I don't understand it. Maybe my expectations are too high for the men's basketball team, but it's also difficult for me to see what Kim Mulkey's doing and think to myself, hey, what's going on here? Now, Kim Mulkey is a different beast than Will Wade. But big money, easy money. It's time for some baseball. That it is. Look, I'm very excited to see what happens this upcoming week and weekend with LSU baseball. It is a new era. It is an exciting time. It's exciting to have a new coach and a new team present. Jacob Berry, Dylan Cruz, Trey Morgan, Gavin Dugas, Cade Doty, Jordan Thompson. Hell, can Alex Milazzo hit above his weight? So many good players. Again, I got to see what they do out the pen.
Oh my gosh!
Right.
Every week. I can give you an example. Like, I had never been to a Mississippi State game, And I remember going out on the field, and I was one of the captains, so I got to go out there earlier. And I'm like, what on earth? Are we at freaking Penn State? Like, where are we at? Is this the whiteout? Like, this is crazy. Yeah, man. The moments are definitely huge. And I'm not saying all SEC schools are small. You know, Clemson, they always keep it rocking. Virginia Tech, you know, everybody knows about their whole thing, but it's literally every week. Freaking Kentucky. I was like, when did Kentucky get like this? There's no way it's been like this.
They only were like that till you got there, Mike. I'm just letting you know.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, good Lord, is every game packed out everywhere? Right.
So, like, even the Auburn game, I mean, and I asked because was the Auburn game the first time that you had experienced like Death Valley? I mean, I know. Let me rephrase my words. I don't want Clemson fans to get upset when I say Death Valley. Was it your first time experiencing an atmosphere like that at LSU? Was that the biggest atmosphere that you think you maybe had ever been a part of?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That was crazy. That was crazy, especially down to the end, like towards the end of the game.
Right.
It was so loud. Like, no, it was actually crazy. Yeah, man, great environment though, man. That's like, I look at the stadium sometimes. I'm like, I can't believe this is this big. You know, it's ridiculous. It's honestly ridiculous. You know, and the student section be so packed out. I'm like, I remember my first time. It might have been Auburn game. I was like, what is happening here? Like, this is crazy. You know, but yeah,
and they feel it for whatever reason, and you probably know this. I mean, you've been down there, but it feels like the student section is much more up on you than like everything else. I mean,
heck yes.
Am I the only person that feels that way? It's
so much. It's so much like so many people in such a little area. You're like, are they like? Is it 1,000, 100,000 people in that one section?
Bro. I know, and they're there early. They're loud.
Yeah, get comfortable doing this right now. When it's time to go do it in the game, that's gonna be easy, you know. But I got to do it right now, though, you know.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, man. And everybody talks about practice and like why do you need practice? But and people even talk about, Mike, like even during the COVID year, right? Like when you don't have spring, and well, why the guys look a little not sloppy, but maybe just a little rusty. It's because you're not able to go out there during spring and perfect some of those things. Facts. And have continuity, and that's something big. Mike Jones, LSU linebacker, joining us. You know, there were a lot of times during the game, you know, especially late in the game, final drive, you're running the ball on 3rd and 1 with Samarji Perine, running it right at Aaron Donald. What are you doing there? There was a play on 2nd and 1, and the inexperience, the play that Joe kind of threw out of bounds because he's under pressure. Jalen Ramsey is 10 to 11 yards off of Joe Burrow. Does Joe really, under Zach Taylor, have the ability to throw that hot route? Because it would seem as if Joe is not checking the play at the line of scrimmage as much as he did at LSU. Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger would call the play in. Joe wouldn't see something he likes, and he would walk back up to the line, and he would change it. Zach Taylor's got to do a better job of getting the play calls in earlier to Joe Burrow. Zach Taylor's got a lot of things that he needs to get better at. Now, can he rebound and do like a Sean McVay and get better? Sure, maybe. We'll see. But the one thing that Paul Brown, the owner of the Bengals, is going to have to do, and I get labeled as the offensive line defender and homer, there's no excuse for last night of what we saw for the Bengals offensive line. The scheme and the play along the offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals. So when you sit back here in a regular season of LSU and we talk about the offensive line and you talk about how bad they are, maybe they're not as bad as you think that they are, especially when the words that come out of your mouth also is that the quarterback is holding on to the ball too long. Newsflash, the quarterback can't hold on to the ball too long if he's not under pressure, if he's having good blocking up front. If you want to know what the poster child of having a bad offensive line is, look at the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Mixon, the Cincinnati running back, running for almost 5 yards a carry, and you get away from him in the second half. It's not only dumb and foolish, it is maybe it is just dumb and foolish. But for Joe Burrow's sake, they're going to have to get better up front. The $60 million that the Cincinnati Bengals have in free agency better be spent on the entire offensive line. I feel as if that what I say gets mislabeled and gets misconstrued, right? When I talk about LSU in this quarterback position, in this quarterback room. Let me first off by saying this. I think Miles Brennan is a really good quarterback. I think he's got a lot of big-time skill sets. I don't know if there's a lot of human being on planet Earth that can throw a football like he can, from a velocity standpoint at least. He's got a big arm. But and even people call him a really good arm talent. I don't disagree. I don't disagree in the slightest. The issue for me, and what will continue to be for me, even when we go into spring and we need to see what goes on here. Guys, he's missed the last 21 games at LSU. And for all of those, and for all of the fans and the people that think that he can come in here and you don't have question marks around that position, and not even just question marks, serious question marks. You either had the glasses, the purple and gold glasses, and look, I'm wearing an LSU hat and an LSU shirt. I put the glasses on sometimes maybe a little too much. But do you have your purple and gold glasses on? Or are you saying things like, and this is every night in my comments, so I'm not pointing out one specific person, just go look at all the comments. I'm running with Miles Brennan to the finish line. I'm with him. I am too. I don't disagree with you there. Not in the slightest. Not even close. Guys, if Miles Brennan runs out here next season and throws for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, you're more than likely going 9-3. You know how I know that? Because I look at Max Johnson, who didn't throw for 4,000 yards and threw for 27 touchdowns, and you're 6-6. Do you win 3 more of those games? Do you beat Auburn? Do you beat Arkansas? Can you beat UCLA? Can you beat Alabama when you have them on the ropes? Yes, you can. The diversity in the expanded part of you getting beat by that big of a margin starts to slim, and you start winning those games. I hope Miles can come in there and do it. That's not anywhere close or even a thought of what I'm thinking or saying. He's got to stay healthy. If everybody wants to argue with me on that, that's fine. Or the other, you do have a lot of question marks at quarterback. If you cannot look through that, then that's on you. And I don't mean that in a wrong way. But I think that we have to have that serious conversation. Again, you're going to hear what you want to hear. And you're going to think what you want to think. I really don't want to see the statistics of Miles Brennan. I don't want to hear about the gunslinger mentality of Garrett Nussmeier. I honestly don't want to hear about the potential of Walker Howard because, guys, now we're here. Spring is right around the corner. As people would say,